Greetings. This is the lecture on emotional intelligence for the class MBA 522, Decision Making in Organizations. Emotional intelligence is an important ability that every one of us can benefit from developing, and it has particular relevance for helping us manage decision making and make improved decisions in organizations, as we'll see in the next few slides. Emotional intelligence is the capacity to be aware of, control, and express our emotions and to handle interpersonal relationships in a way that is smart regarding our emotions. So what that means is we need to manage our own emotions, and then we need to be able to read, understand, and interact with others based on the emotions that we're experiencing from them. For example, if someone is angry or frustrated or tired, we do our best to manage our own emotions so that we can interact more effectively with them to manage the anger or the frustration that they're feeling and try to get productive outcomes. When we can understand and manage our own emotions as well as those of others, it enables us to have more effective, enhanced relationships. It also enables us, as we are better able to manage our own emotions, to make emotions that are less influenced and biased by emotions. So we can make decisions that are less biased by the emotions. So, as it says there at the bottom, emotional intelligence is an ability that we can develop and practice over time. It's really important that we recognize we all could improve our emotional intelligence to become more self-aware of what we're feeling, and as well to be able to interact with others more effectively by recognizing their emotions and not escalating problems, trying to manage our problems and our conflicts differently. Emotional intelligence has four basic dimensions and a bunch of subdimensions to them. The four major dimensions are as follows. Number one is self-awareness, awareness of our own emotions. Number two is self-management. It's not enough to just say I experience emotions or I'm aware of my emotions, but we also need to self-manage them, have self-control, know how to use our emotions more strategically, and try to be more adaptable to our environments. The third element is social awareness. And with social awareness, we are looking at others, recognizing emotions, showing empathy and awareness of the experiences of others. And then lastly, based on that social awareness, having better relationship management, if you will, working hard to utilize our emotions and recognizing the emotions of others to be able to coach, to mentor, to work through conflict and things like that. As we look down at the subcategories and the issue of self-awareness, what we're really talking about here is emotional self-awareness. What we need is to recognize that anger is not a primary emotion. Anger tends to be a secondary emotion. So if we're angry about something, it usually is linked to an emotion such as I'm hurt, or I'm frustrated, or I'm sad. And being able to recognize the source of that anger and really working yourself deep into this idea of emotional awareness is really important. In terms of the self-management, what we're looking at then for ourselves is emotional self-control. So if we are feeling all sorts of emotions and we feel a lot of emotions in the environment around us, we learn how to manage, how to stay calm. That doesn't mean we don't experience the emotions that we are experiencing. What it means is that we have to exhibit more self-control. We have to be more adaptable. We have to have a positive outlook about things, and self-management helps us to have a better achievement orientation, that it's one based on focus to accomplish something rather than to based on sort of emotional intensity or all sorts of emotional biases that we can experience, as we talked a little bit about in our diversity and bias lecture. In terms of social awareness, what we want, as I said, is empathy and awareness of what's kind of going on around us in the organization. And then lastly, the relationship management. When we become more aware of our emotions, when we're aware of the emotions of others, and we can see how these things work together, we work to influence people. We work to coach and mentor them. We work on conflict management, teamwork. We can inspire others with good leadership. And so by managing our own emotions and being intelligent about what we're experiencing and really being empathetic to others and recognizing what they're experiencing, it does enable us to be a better leader, and to inspire others. And all of these dimensions that I'm just talking about here go into much more detail in the article that you guys had to read for today, which is the Harvard Business Review piece on the 12 elements of emotional intelligence. And there may be some aspects of emotional intelligence that we're aware of, that we need work on, and there are other aspects of emotional intelligence in which we don't need much work. We're doing really well. And so the goal of this article is to make you aware of areas you might need some help with, to make you a more emotionally intelligent individual and ultimately a better decision maker down the line. There are many benefits to having high emotional intelligence, and all of these absolutely have a positive impact on our ability to make better decisions interpersonally, in our own personal relationships, our private family relationships, as well as our business relationships. So let's start with some of those things. People who have high emotional intelligence are better at social relations. They know how to build better friendships and better relationships with others. They recognize people's ups and downs, and they're better able to adapt to those. They are perceived to be more pleasant, socially skilled, and empathic. So the bottom line is those who are more emotionally intelligent are perceived to be somebody people want to be around, because you are considerate, you're empathic, you recognize people's strengths and weaknesses, you recognize your own strengths and weaknesses, and you're managing your emotions in a way that is interpersonally appropriate. These people have better family and intimate relationships. And when we're talking about intimate relationship, we're talking about close friends. I'm not necessarily talking about spousal intimacy, but more intimate with my best friend and my best friend's family and my extended family and those kinds of things. Because those are intimate relationships in terms of emotional intimacy or intellectual intimacy, not necessarily, the other aspects of intimacy. So you tend to have a better situation with your family, and with those around you, because you have some emotional stability around that. They have better academic achievement. We know that people who are highly emotionally intelligent, that works in alignment with regular in the intellectual intelligence, and those two things work hand in hand in order to result in better academic performance and work-related performance. We have better social relations during work and in negotiations, which means it's not just about hanging out with my friends and enjoying time with my friends and relatives and my family, but really it's about making sure that I am doing well on the job, and that I'm doing well as I work and negotiate and navigate all sorts of agreements and decisions that need to be made in the workplace. People with high emotional intelligence also have better psychological well-being. They are, when you're managing your emotions well, that enables you to have less stress in your life, and you're able to be more adaptable, and so your well-being, your psychological well-being goes up. Lastly, high emotional intelligence allows for better self-compassion and self-awareness. So we go easier on ourselves. We know how to set appropriate priorities and boundaries for ourselves, recognizing when something's okay and when it's not okay, and when we want to be able to deal with something, when we don't want to be able to deal with something. And so we use our emotional intelligence to be able to set boundaries around being compassionate with ourselves, being compassionate with others, recognizing when people make mistakes, but not exploding over it, and then also allowing us to have better self-awareness. So, how and why is emotional intelligence important for decision making? And I love that cartoon there. You can see that the person is being interviewed for a job and they say something like, "Yes, I think I have good people skills." What kind of idiot question is that? And again, that doesn't show emotional intelligence, it doesn't show empathy, it's very rude and crude. So, it requires us to have awareness of others and in basic sort of empathy and kindness towards others, enabling us to have communications with people, even if we think it's a stupid question. Why would we answer it that way? What is it to be gained by doing that? The lack of civility is certainly a concern there. But emotional intelligence allows us to make better decisions because, as you can see from the other little photo there on the slide, 70% of the emotions affecting our decisions are subconscious. And so oftentimes there's a lot of stuff going on underneath that we are experiencing, our body feels, but we cannot verbally express. So it is important that we recognize and try to be as aware as we can be about our emotions, our motivations, our values, our aspirations, our priorities, because these are the things that bring up all sorts of emotions. We need to be aware of the kinds of things that might trigger us, that make us more angry or sad or frustrated. So the more that we're aware of these things, it enables us then to be aware of our emotions as we're faced with a key decision. And sometimes we're faced with a key decision when emotions are really high, and we need to be able to manage that. Sometimes we have to make a key decision when there's a crisis, and we have to manage that as well. So it enables us to be aware of others, organizational level awareness, and just awareness interpersonally of others and their experiences. And the more that we can tune into those environments, the better it is for us to be able to address how emotions are going to affect our decision. It enables us also to be more adaptable because when we can manage our emotions, we are not held hostage by those emotions that may be leading us towards a decision bias, but enables us to be adaptable and to hear with different ears as we're going through the decision process. Influencing others. If we want to influence others, we absolutely need to be able to recognize our own emotions and recognize the emotions of others to be able to have a good relationship with them and to be able to persuade or influence them to make a decision in the way that we want them to make a decision. And then lastly, of course, it helps us manage emotional bias. And we know emotions will have a huge bias effect on any decision that we make. And too much emotion can be much of a problem. Often, though, not enough emotion can also cause a problem for us as well, creating more indecision. So we need emotion in our life, but we don't need emotions on steroids. We need to better manage those emotions. And so overall, the importance of emotional intelligence is recognizing all of the impact, all the dimensions of emotional intelligence and what impact it has on our relationships with others and our ability to make good decisions both individually and within groups.